All right. Good morning, everybody. All right. Let's get started on today's morning study. Happy Memorial Day. Everybody remembering the tragedy of World War One, right? All right. All right. So we got a couple new demos posted by the F. brothers, which we're looking at this month. I'm trying to think about what to do next month, considering some options. Um, I don't know. Maybe get enough people in here. I'll get your feedback on what I'm thinking about. I guess if you move this up. There we go. Just making sure the other site has a view. So what's going on in art news? Peter David apparently passed away. So that comes back. Good morning, people coming in. Trying to decide. Or I could keep doing this. I actually might be gone most of June, so we'll see how that rolls out. Maybe go see family. And, well, this little page of studies is all about folds here. So we'll see. But some ziggy zags here and there. Good morning. Over there on the YouTubes. Happy Memorial Day weekend. Any big sales anyone's looking to take advantage of this weekend? I'm thinking about pulling the plug on a somewhat large purpose. Have it sent to my parents just so I know it'll get there in time. And install it there. But there's a have this Xterra project I've done, which I've talked about in here before, where I converted my 2006 Nissan Xterra into a micro camper. And one big thing I'd like to get on it is a 180 awning. So, a company that sells a high quality one has a 15% off sale this weekend, and then I need to order the hardware to get it on there and everything. So, considering that, because I should decide by the end of the day. This is it's an orange pencil, so basically it's just a lead holder, a 2mm lead holder. Actually, I have mixed feelings about it. It feels like this tip is starting to come off on the front, but I like that it was wood. But I don't know how well it's gonna last. Maybe it needs to be glued on or something. You can see kind of I can pull it out a little bit there. I don't like that, but I might just go get another statement one. I've got like an orange tip. But basically, you put these leads in there. So these ones are orange. I like the orange on the brown paper. But that's what that is. You can get these. There's not actually, surprisingly, there's not that many 2mm colored leads out there for some reason. I've got red, I've got blue. I even found a brand that makes black. My only problem with it though is like the lead itself is really, really soft, and so it breaks really easy. I was like, cool, black one. Now I don't have to keep sharpening a regular pencil. And these are great because you can sharpen them. Away from the pencil sharpener. You sharpen them in one of these things. So, yeah, so you could buy like regular wood pencils, but this is nice just because it's just the lead itself, and then it's really easy to drop it in and sharpen it, spin it around. But yeah, so definitely highly recommend it. So they have different regular pencil leads, right? So you can get your 2B or your 2H or your 4H and your F pencil leads in it. So I'm going to show a little bit of a twist on here. I guess it's what it's all about. Yeah, but Staedtler, it's a pretty common brand. It's this German brand. They make a lot of drawing stuff. Um, um, let's see my brace over here. Yeah, but so this is my mornings, what I call my morning study. So basically, I get up in the morning. Sometimes I've been a little bit delayed lately, just because I've had like too many things trying to happen all at the same time, and I need to kind of reassert my schedule after it got kind of chaotically rearranged this last semester of teaching, and so we're kind of rebuilding our major out. It's funny because when I first came in 2 years ago, the guy who was in charge at the time, he's like, "Yeah, we've pretty much perfected the major. Like we've achieved all the things they set out to do, 20 odd years ago." And it's like, "Oh, that's interesting. So we'll see how it looks like." I was new here. I've taught a bunch of different schools over the years. But I was new here full time, and after like a couple of months of teaching, it was pretty obvious to me that there were a lot of areas that needed to be kind of updated. And I revealed to that same person. He said, "Well, why don't you put together an illustration track inside the major?" Okay. So I started working on that, and then we got a new department chair, and it was kind of helping me push that through. And been working on all year long is trying to get this concentration going, negotiating different aspects of it, and arguing with people over different parts of it. So there's some Normand LeMay from 2014. I wonder what this person's up to now. But um, so excited to be back in the saddle this summer, making stuff. I do have some family things to do this summer, so need to head out there. But anyway, I was thinking about getting this awning. And, the clincher was I found apparently I'm getting like a small pay bump as a bonus this semester, so that'll help me kind of cover that extra cost. And I also canceled my personal professional Adobe subscription, so I get it free from the school anyway. The only thing I was really using off of it was the fonts library. I should do is look up the actual font foundries that I use and see if I can buy them off of them. And then just do it that way. But all right, next up is some inking. We've been practicing with this guy, this calligraphy pen lately. So that's what these other drawings are all done with. All right. But I expect us to bring kind of this new track for I like this nib. Feels good to draw with. Hello over there. My stream plays class. With that proper catchy. Interesting set of dialogue there. I like using this nib. Too much. There we go. Back. Let's see. Oh, we got ourselves a bot. I'll take that care of that in a minute. Unless somebody thinks that person's sincere, right? But yeah, this particular little tutorial I'm looking at today has to do with compression folds or zigzag folds. So there's 7 main folds, and this is one of them. But compression folds are really important. Ink pen. So this is a Type C, C3 calligraphy nib. So it kind of has a flat side that you can see here, and then has a sharp side. So it kind of gives you instant line quality because as soon as you change direction at all, it gives you that line quality. I like it too because you can kind of draw straight lines with it really easy. So all the drawings on this page here have been done using it. I'm looking at doing a graphic novel or comic in the near future. And so I've been experimenting with some of these nibs. Definitely want to do it all traditional media. I mean, I might do certain aspects of like the planning digitally, but it'll all be hand drawn. But I think there's a link in the YouTube subscription or YouTube description, sorry, that has the email list for that if you're interested in that. But I need to sit down and make a little PDF booklet I want to give away to people who kind of get themselves on the list. Probably be some other things too I want to do when the time comes to actually put it out there. Yeah, so it's just a nib. You can get these, you know, they usually come in like a pack of one or two of them at the art supply shop. Um, it's not the most common one used for inking, but I like because you can draw like really long straight lines that are narrow, and you've also got kind of this kind of block shape coming down. And I'm very much like a kind of a shape based artist, and so I appreciate the fact that this thing is like nice, you know, makes really clear shapes on it. But it has nice effects that I like to work with. So, if I haven't really seen a lot of people talk about using it, the most common one is the Hunt 102. And I've got a bunch of those in a box. Now it's super narrow. It's very flexible. It's really great for like really fine details. You can get pretty good details with this thing too, just by how you handle it. But the other one's like really designed for inking. It's a kind of what they call crow quill. So it's metal, but it's based on old kind of crow feathers type quill pens, and that's the most common one used for inking. Um, yeah. Now I'm just using Speedball ink, which I need to refresh it. So well, actually, it's not so bad being gummy with this. Usually, it's more a problem it's too wet with this nib. Mm. definitely, kind of went through and been like experimenting with some of my older nibs and found one of these really liked it, so I bought some more. Then I like the brown paper that I've been using here because it combined it with the white ink. All right. So let's get some water in my jar. All right, we got our white ink out. So we got our white ink. Let's see. All right. Put the date on here. How are we doing for time? 30 minutes in. There's the Hunt 102. So 250526. And the artist's name here is Normand LeMay. Now this is the Hunt 102, so it's designed to do things like this. It's got like a soft tipsy. I guess it's inside. Yeah, see that? So it's really designed for like super fine work like that. So we could come in here and like, you know, and heighten these details with it really easily. It's a great tool. I don't like it so much on this paper. The paper is fairly rough, and it kind of kills those nibs pretty quick. But let's see. I guess online this person's known as Grizz and Normie. Let's see, let's double check. Grizz and Norm. All right. So I've got some head construction. So let's see. So we go on the other side. All right. Is this all dry? Not quite. All right. Wait for this to dry a little bit first. Yeah. Any questions out there while we're waiting for the paint to dry? Which I guess I can clean up that spammer, right? Report. Bam. Bam. And then there we go. Cleaned it up. Hello, Demochi. Wait for this to dry a little bit so I can flip over to the next page. Still wet over there. But here's the full page for this setup here. Let's see what we got over there. There's like another recent page while we're waiting for this one to dry. Almost there. But by going through and doing these kind of morning studies off of other people's tutorials, sometimes reference, sketching from reference, like these. But yeah, I guess it's dry. I'm trying to fill up this sketchbook front and back. Let's see. Move this out of the way and slide this over and zoom in here. I've got some Michelangelo on here. It's always good to see him. I'll do a few of these, and then that will take us to the hour, I think, right? Alright, we got that. And we got the eye kind of ducking in here, cutting out. Right. I am drawing. So what I'm doing right now. So in the morning, I like to get up first thing and do what I call a morning study project. So if you go through and like dig through my archive of live streams, you'll see different projects. And so typically, I'm drawing from other people's material as part of that morning study. I get for like an hour and do this. So, for example, in the fall, I was looking at Terrell Whitlatch's Science of Creature Design. And I was sketching from her books, seeing what insights I can get into, what they call comparative anatomy as it relates to creature design from her. Because she's just been a really amazing, very experienced concept artist. And wanted to learn from her. And so I've done different ones where like I'll draw, from Pinterest reference or reference I bought from things or photographs I've taken. Lately, what I've been doing though is the Etherington brothers, who do a book series called How to Think When You Draw. They've been posting other people's tutorials on their social media. And so I've been looking at those. I actually did a study project of one of their books once upon a time. I should probably do that again. Um, but anyway, looking at those tutorials this month. So that's what I've been doing this month, is basically grabbing tutorials that they're reposting that other people have done, and seeing what I can glean from those. See if there's maybe something I can for myself, or maybe a good explanation for my students, that kind of thing. So, because mostly what I'm looking at, like, there really isn't anything I would say new for me. Not that there's anything wrong with it, the tutorials or anything. It's just, like this right here is like an interesting way of kind of blocking out the face that I think is kind of interesting. Kind of looking at the different planes. This is a little bit different way that I'm used to looking at it, so I think that's kind of interesting. So I'm kind of always looking on the lookout for kind of new ways. Actually, this is supposed to go over there. There we go. So that's what we got going on here. So I'm looking. I've been taking. I thought I would try that out this month. So that's what I've been doing all the month of May. Been debating a couple different things for June. Whether it gets broadcast or not that much, just because I'm going to probably be on the road a bit for a good chunk of June. So, but it's just an interesting way of kind of like chopping the parts into different sections. And then, let's see, we're chopping the face down some more, pulling off these pieces, cutting out these interior parts. So here's parts. So there's 1, 2. A lot of people say, look at, they'll look at, say, drawing the head is like, there's one way to do this. And I'm like, well, there's different ways of doing it. So we're going to rebuild the structure again. I do draw from my imagination a lot, though. I've got like a concept project I'm working on. Maybe I'll pull this out here once I'm kind of getting these done. It's a good idea to look at the face like a shelf. So like here's the brow, and here's the cheekbones here. You just remove the nose and like look at the face as having this structure there. But yeah, I do like to draw from my imagination a lot. It's helpful to get reference though, as much as you can. You want to like practice. I like to practice both, but when it comes to actually producing the work, you really want to really sit down and get some decent reference. Take photographs and things like that. Even like really great comic artists like Sean Gordon Murphy will use photographic reference, and makes a big difference. And then they're showing here the cut off pieces of the face. And then here's the cut out piece of the face. So, but yeah, I think it's helpful to do both. Like, start drawing things from your imagination, from observation, mixing up the two. And that's where a lot of style comes from. Is kind of playing with these different aspects. And then they draw a portrait over here. Yeah, so I think it's a good idea to do a lot of different things, but. And finding the different alignments with the features. But yeah, it's a very effective way of working. Always helped me to also look kind of at the basic stuff, just because I work with students, and it's helpful for me to see, reminded about how basic things work, just because I get used to doing things a certain way. Put this guy in there. And so it's easy for me to forget how their perspective on things, and by kind of constantly looking at other people's work and paying attention to simple things like how this head's being constructed, kind of reminds me of their experience. So, good morning. Who's got all these clever names? Don't think I'd advise using this particular pen for drawing a circle. Probably whip out one of my technical pens. I appreciate that. This morning I am working on my, as I was explaining earlier, this is my morning study. And the idea behind that is I basically have some kind of project where I'm looking at something that I think can be helpful to improve my own work. So I've done a bunch of these different projects over the last few years. Um, so yeah, I've looked at a number of books like Loomis's Figure Drawing for All It's Worth, or Bridgman, of course, a bunch of different ones out there. And but this month I thought I would do is the Etherington brothers, who do those How to Think When You Draw books. I've got a number of those. I was going to back them this year, but they didn't have an option I liked. But anyway, they've been reposting other people's artwork, and not artwork, tutorial. Sorry, drawing and talking at the same time. I'm usually okay with that, but they've been reposting other people's tutorials on their socials alongside their own, and I thought it'd be a good idea to maybe take the month of May and just look at those. Because so often you're scrolling through the intertubes, and there's a lot of data out there, right? There's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of things to look at, and I thought this would be a good way of kind of slowing down and paying attention to some things, and maybe glean some kind of insight. Yeah, so kind of a good way of like slowing that scroll, paying attention to what other people are doing, because there's so much good stuff being put out by people. It's really, an amazing time to be an artist and look at art. I appreciate that. Yeah, I probably would get more subs faster if I did regular YouTube videos, but I just got so many things going on. What I like about the live streaming thing is I can just turn it on while I'm working. Like if I'm settled into something or something I do all the time, like these morning studies, I've got it set up so I can just turn it on. And like to do a full-blown YouTube video, it just takes time to kind of, edit things and put things together and post it and all that. And this all just happens automatically. However, I do have a teaching site, so if people haven't checked it out, where mostly stuff on perspective. One of the things I've taught fairly extensively. I've been working on putting up the courses I used to teach at Ringling College of Art and Design, which is I taught their motion designers perspective for 4 years and figure drawing. And over on, anyway, I put together a website called myartprofessor.com. I had some really cool ways of teaching it. It's actual technical perspective, so it's not just this is how you line things up with a vanishing point. It's, all the tech. How do you actually measure space in perspective? So you can actually take a plan and actually build that actual plan, not just a generic one. So, for example, one of the projects I had them do, and it's actually this is up on the site currently, is a project where they had to measure their bedroom and their furniture and build that room in perspective precisely based off of those measurements. And I have like a whole little step-by-step thing that I gave them to do, so they can actually do that. They only spent like a couple weeks really working out the perspective, because one of the things I do is it turned these into design problems that they have to solve, which is in there as well. But that's one of the things up there. In my case, the demo I did is I measured my own kitchen and I built the kitchen in perspective. So I had to measure the floor and the height of all the cabinets, and it was a small kitchen, so. But it kind of makes learning technical perspective pretty easy, and it relates it to lenses. So one of the things in teaching at the motion design area with these students, and I didn't do motion design, I just taught them drawing, but one of the things I went around asking the department, like, what do they need to learn about drawing? Because I was hired really to like develop these drawing courses for them. And so I was like, well, what do you guys want to know about drawing? And they all looked at me like I was a crazy person. They're like, oh, we want them to do more drawing. And I'm like, well, okay, we can always just do random drawings. And I saw kind of what they had initially started with, and it was okay. It had like a lot of good things, and it wasn't as focused as I like things to be. And so after teaching there for a year, I kind of looked at what was going on in the department, after seeing student work and the kind of things they were doing, because I wasn't that familiar with motion design, and kind of saw what they needed help, where the students were using drawing and where it would come in handy. So things like storyboards and visual scripting and storyboards, I guess. But they need to think in terms of lenses and all of that. And so I was looking at the perspective and like, well, we could treat the perspective as lenses, and the way that we draw things in perspective can be kind of related to lenses. And so that kind of changed how I taught the perspective class, so that it actually made it more relevant for what the students' major was. I mean, I think they just like drawing. Students always like to draw. But who is this person? Get the signature on here. So let's see. Rad Seacrest, apparently. So 250526 at Rad Seacrest. Let me get the white stuff on here. So anyway, that's kind of how I handle the perspective. So it's not just learning technical perspective, but it's really learning how it relates to how people actually see things and how they work, and what it's for, which I think makes any kind of learning you do relevant. A lot of people make a big deal about ways of learning, and I always thought that's kind of nonsense. More or less, most people learn things the same way most of the time. They'll brag about, well, I'm a visual learner, or I'm a this kind of learner, or that kind of learner. And really what it is everybody's an experiential learner. So the idea is you need to go from learning about information to applying it as quickly as you can. And that's really how people learn. It has nothing to do with, visual or emotional or whatever learner. It's experiential. So, it's like you can learn all about, math equations for building a bridge, but really you need to get into building something as quickly as you can, like if you're an engineer. Hopefully nothing too consequential at the beginning so nobody dies. But one of the things you'll see is, they'll build out, different types of structures out of things. Because they're trying to show you, like, well, there's a relationship between, the things you're learning in class, things you're learning about, and the things that you're trying to do. And that's true of learning languages or drawing or anatomy or anything else, is really everyone's an experiential learner. And so the sooner you can make information relevant to a problem that has to be solved, the sooner you can kind of get into, using your information to solve a real problem, the quicker you'll actually master it and the more relevance it has. So, the way I kind of think is I kind of chunk information and then give you an application for it, whether it's teaching in the classroom or online or other places. That's always the goal, is to kind of get you into actually using it. For me, that was always like the hard part about learning, like, say, math, right? So that whenever they gave you examples in math books, it was always like this vague thing, like measuring the height of a tree across a river, which, who cares about that, right? And that's the thing. So all of my course materials, whether I'm teaching again online or in person, it's always all about kind of getting into the practice as quickly as you can. So one of the things you'll find, like, is the problem solving is really what helps direct your education. So one of the things that I think I sort of made a mistake doing this is I was really fixated on learning skills, like, as a thing. But I like doing it. It's an interesting problem to solve, right? You learn how to do one thing, you learn how to do another thing, and so on and so on. But you can kind of do that forever and ever and ever, and like not really do anything with it. And I think one of the big goals ought to be, just that one of the things as an artist, one thing that's really wise to do is to work on a project that you care about. And then as you're working on it, you'll discover there's things you don't understand or don't know how to do, and that's where you go in and learn. And that's really where the autodidact comes into play. Problem with that is a lot of times you'll kind of bump into things that should be pretty basic to understand. And that's where you kind of run into a problem of being like a self-taught person exclusively, is because often there's be something really basic that someone just would have told you in a classroom, but you missed out on for whatever reason because you weren't there. Anyway, this is like I was talking about, someone's asking about imagination. So this is all mostly done for imagination. I used a little reference for the eyes, but I'm kind of plotting out this kind of short comic here. So it goes here and over and down, based off of this concept project I've been working on. So that's where he's going. Setting off his drone, and then following it into the wreck. So I'm going to kind of do another pass on this just to see if I'm happy with the poses and that, and then scan it in and print it out and work on the actual pencils. Hopefully get those done as quickly as I can. But anyway, it's been an hour. I appreciate everybody that came in. I'll probably continue with this for sure in the morning tomorrow. And maybe back later today. We'll see how things go with what I'm working on. I've been trying to work through some tutorials on concepting in Blender. And it's definitely been really interesting and helpful. I just need to have more time with it. But anyway, thanks everybody that came in. I appreciate it. And we'll talk to you all later.